The key elements of your parenting plan are really coming up with a schedule that works for the child and is in the child's best interest. And ideally, that's at the intersection of what works best for you and your soon-to-be ex. So you want to look at what is actually best for this child. First of all, a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some people make the big mistake of trying to reverse engineer a parenting plan based on support. So what you'll have is someone trying to avoid paying support or minimize the amount of support they're paying and trying to come up with a parenting plan that gets them more time, not because they really want the child more, but because they want to pay less. And that is not a good idea. You want to start with figuring out what is best for the child, who is the child more bonded to, who has been traditionally responsible for the child, what is your and your ex's genuine level of interest in parenting the child and availability to parent the child, and then taking a look at, again, what's at the intersection of what's best for the child, what are you capable of, what is your ex capable of, what are your respective schedules, and figuring out based on all of that what the best plan is that is going to minimize disruption for the child and help position the child for a smooth transition and an easy flow moving forward post-divorce. What you should do on holidays and special occasions is really just do your best to, first of all, unless there is a serious issue with the other parent, do your best to split those to the extent possible. So whether that is alternating the days or picking a half of the day that works best for you and works best for your ex, but you really want to try to figure out a schedule that gets you approximately the same amount of parenting time as the other parent. Again, setting aside any serious issues. If there are issues that impact the other party's ability to parent the child, then we're going to set that aside. But assuming that you have two capable and stable parents, you want to approximately share that parenting time and do it so that you go 1 year on, 1 year off, or just split the day on that particular year. What you should do to handle disagreements about a parenting plan is to, first of all, step back and avoid reacting and handling it in an emotional way. You want to step back and try to figure out what the other parent is trying to accomplish. Because many times you'll find that you can take care of that and still keep what you really need. One of the mistakes we've seen is that people tend to react emotionally when there are requests for changes or requests for accommodations. And that can really add fuel to the fire and make the process difficult. So you want to figure out what does the other parent really want, and can I make that happen? Nonetheless, regardless, what you want to do is you want to err on the side of over communicating rather than under communicating. We see people getting into issues and having problems when they don't communicate well and often. So if you're ever in doubt, if you think you're in a gray area, then take that extra time to communicate with the other parent, whether electronically or in person, and just talk about what you each want and try to come to an agreement so that you can avoid having to file and address the issue in court. Whether to use a flexible versus detail-oriented schedule for the children really depends on how well you work together as parents. So the best way to think about this is judging by your ex or soon-to-be ex's personality and your history of addressing issues with that person, the more likely it is that you are going to run into problems and issues involving a parenting plan, then the more sense it makes to inject more details into the base parenting plan. it's important to recognize that just because you have details in a parenting plan, it doesn't mean that you can't be flexible. So you can actually have both. You can have a lot of detail in your parenting plan and leave room for flexibility and accommodation. And so if you have someone on the other side that you think might be difficult, you think there might be disagreements moving forward, then you want more detail and specificity in your parenting plan. If you get along really well with that person and that person is reasonable and rational, then it is less important to have more detail in the parenting plan. You still might want to get the basics in there, especially because like a common issue that comes up is people don't think about the fact that they might move on to another relationship in the future. And so that's a typical kind of fork in the road where when either parent moves on to a new relationship, that might bring with it disagreements about the parenting plan. So the advice is err on the side of putting more detail in the parenting plan, knowing that there is room for flexibility and accommodation. If you have any questions at all about parenting plans, changes to parenting plans, feel free to contact us at Farias Family Law.